Welcome to Zoe Morse. I want to give a little rundown on Zoe. I've known Zoe since she was about 10 years old. So about the same age that some of you guys were when I've coached you. Zoe's a remarkable soccer player and a remarkable human being. A couple of things that I want to highlight in her playing career. She just graduated or is graduating from the University of Virginia. She played 85 games for UVA over the course of 4 years, and she started 84 of them. She led the team in minutes played this past year. She served as a captain of the team, not just this past year as a senior, but also as a junior. She had the privilege of representing the U.S. women's national team at the youth levels at U15, U17, U18, and U20. And most recently, she was drafted in the 3rd round by the Chicago Red Stars of the Professional Women's Soccer League. So excellent resume as a player, but also an all-around great human being and an excellent student as well, which we'll talk about. So Zoe, welcome, and thank you for being here and speaking with everyone here.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see all you out there. I can see your little pictures up on the screen.
That's awesome. So a couple things that we want to kind of get going here. So Zoe, I know that you've been playing soccer. When we talked earlier this week, you told me how you started playing soccer at age 3. Your mom was the coach. You're playing kind of in the recreational league. You made the jump to travel soccer around 9 or 10 years old. So tell us, when you made that jump, what did you like about that experience, moving from the recreational to the travel competitive level?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of changes that obviously happened with that jump. One big one initially being that I went from being coached by my mom my whole life to going to the travel team with my new coaches it was just a new relationship I had to learn how to handle, and I really enjoyed that higher level of coaching. Nothing against my mom, she was a great coach. And with that also, it was just a higher speed of play. There were more tactics involved. Even at 9 and 10, there's so much you can learn. Just like the speed of the games, changing the point, how you can position your body. I learned so much more about the intricacy and the details of the game with that jump.
And so what were some of the challenges that you faced when you jumped from that rec to travel level? You talked about how complicated it was. Were there any challenges that stood out for you?
Definitely. So when I made that jump, I was playing a year up. So for me, I was definitely the smallest one on my team, being a year younger, which you don't have to be a year younger to be the smallest one on your team. I think a lot of people can relate to that, whether that's any sort of physical difference between you and other players, and learning how to use my own strengths. Even if I was smaller, I learned that I was quicker. I learned that I could use my body to get around people even with my shorter stature. And I think with that jump, I learned how to find what my own strengths were and use them to my advantage, no matter what other people were saying, what other people were thinking about me, just when they saw me on the field. That's
great. What was your favorite position to play growing up?
Growing up, I was more of a attacking midfielder, so I liked being closer to the goal. I think obviously scoring goals is pretty exciting, so a lot of people can probably relate to that. So yeah, but I'm sure we'll talk about later how I moved back.
Well, and share with us. You played primarily as like an attacking midfielder, probably like an 8 or a 10 for a couple of years. And what other positions did you play growing up as a youth travel soccer player?
So pretty much all the midfield positions, 8, 10, 6. So I slowly kind of moved back in the lines. I played the 6 probably starting around freshman year of high school, so I was more in that defensive midfield role, and I played that up until college, or more like senior year of high school, where I moved back to center back, and I've been there ever since.
And so with that variety of positions, playing as a 10, an 8, a 6, and now also as a 4 and a 5, how did that help you develop as a player?
I think just having experience in all those positions helps me have better relationships with my teammates because I know what they're dealing with when I give them a certain kind of pass. I know what they want out of me as their teammate. I know if I'm a center back now, I know how the midfielders, what kind of pace of the pass they want, what kind of angle of a pass they want. So it just has helped me be more or fit into a team more smoothly.
That's great. So around, I think it was around U14, like around 8th grade or freshman year is when I had this, my club and our coaches had to stop coaching you, and you had to move on because you had moved on to the Michigan Hawks, which is one of the best clubs in the state of Michigan. And that was a team that was also at the time playing in ECNL, which is, and they still are playing in ECNL. So share with us some of the challenges that you might have encountered with joining a team that was competing in the ECNL.
Yeah, so I think similar to what I talked about when I jumped from the more rec league to my first travel team, I had to deal with a new speed of play. I had to learn how to play within that. And the girls that were on my team, a lot of them were the best from all of their towns coming together. So everyone was solid technically, everyone was fit, everyone was fast, and I had to learn how to adapt in that new environment. And again, I had to figure out what my strengths were and play to those while also identifying what my weaknesses were because I could easily tell what my weaknesses were when I switched to that new environment. So taking that and then working on those and learning from it.
So with the, let's talk about that kind of self-assessment. You recognize some of the areas that you needed to improve. What did you do on your own to improve them?
So like you said, I moved to Hawks my freshman year of high school, and at that time my schedule got pretty packed. So I would have school from however early in the morning until like 3 p.m. I'd go right to practice. And so it was kind of hard to figure out when to work on these. And so I had to be really smart about when I inserted individual work in. So I would wake up, I think school started at 7:45. I would get up at 6:30 a lot of days and get 30 minutes of technical in. I would just go in my basement, and a lot of the stuff that I identified as my weaknesses were first touch to be able to play at that higher speed of play, or my turns, because at that time I was playing in the midfield. So I would just sit with the wall in my basement and just hit against the wall, turn, come back, hit against the wall, turn, come back, and do that for 30 minutes, probably 3 or 4 mornings a week. And then when I was at practice, I would always try and get out there early. I'm among my coaches now, I'm known for loving to work on long balls. So before practice, I would always hit a few long balls. After practice, I would try and grab someone to do some long balls with me, just staying or getting there 15 minutes early doing some work, staying 15 minutes after doing some work, and just try and fit that in wherever you can.
So a lot of it is that finding that extra time. It doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. It just has to be that 15 to 20 to 30-minute time where you have some opportunity to put the work in on your own.
Yep.
That's good. So you've also had the privilege of representing the women's national team at the youth level, at U15, U17, U18, and U20. Tell the group some of the places you've traveled to while representing the U.S. women's national team at the youth level.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to go to some pretty incredible places, and I'm super grateful for those opportunities. Some of them, I've been to Costa Rica, Honduras, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Mexico, Spain, England, France, Germany, and the Netherlands. I think that is where I've been. And I've gotten to see some incredible sites, like tourist sites like that. But what I've loved about those experiences is a lot of times we were staying in a little hotel in a random little city in the middle of nowhere, France. And you just got to be in the small little kind of rural life of France and learn that kind of culture away from all the tourist attractions and all that. So that's what I've loved the most about those.
That's going to be a heck of an experience to be able to travel abroad. In terms of the competitions, are there any things that with each level you've risen to, there have been greater challenges. Is there any moment or anything that you've learned from that international experience that has helped you as a player when you were either playing club or playing college?
Yeah, there's a lot for sure. I think a moment that sticks out is when I was on the U17 national team. We were in World Cup qualifying down in Jamaica, and it came down to PKs to whether we were gonna go through to the World Cup or not. And I was the fourth kicker, and I missed, and we didn't qualify. And so just that mental pressure and having to deal with that failure, and then being able to come back from that. And I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to somehow be in the exact same position with U20 World Cup qualifying 4 years later, where I was the fourth kicker to send us through to the World Cup, and I made it this time. So that mental game of just being able to deal with the pressure. I failed. I knew I failed. Everyone knew I failed. And being able to work on that over the course of 4 years and get that opportunity again and succeed and help my team get to where we wanted to go. So I would say that mental pressure.
Well, that's a great story and lesson to learn from, because and I'm sure everyone who's watching and listening has made a mistake in soccer before, right? If you're a goalkeeper, you might let a ball in through your legs. If you're a defender, you might have missed a tackle or failed to clear a ball out. As an attacking player, maybe we missed an open net, but it's that ability to bounce back that's so critical. And that's a wonderful story, because for us, we're thinking about, oh, it's under 10 game or an under 14 game. And yeah, well, it's something that lingers, but this is something that, a setback you experience at a very, very high level, yet we're able to bounce back, and you didn't let that get you down. And that's hopefully a great lesson for the boys and girls who are listening today to take home with them. Now, you weren't just a soccer player. You played other sports growing up. So talk to the group. Share with us some of the other sports you played growing up.
I definitely played a little bit of everything. I played basketball from kindergarten through freshman year of high school. I played varsity freshman year and then decided to cut it off. But I played softball up till 8th grade, maybe. I ran track and cross country pretty much all the way through high school. And what else did I do? I guess those were like the organized sports, but other than that, I was just always doing whatever in the yard with my friends. So.
Well, and you have two younger brothers that you got to play sports with, and your parents are active and lived in a neighborhood with a lot of other active kids, so that was helpful. Yeah. How did that experience playing those other sports, in terms of track or cross country or basketball, how did that help you become a better soccer player?
I think there's a couple different sides to that. And so on like physically, athletically, I was able to become a much more well-rounded athlete. I think basketball helped me be agile, and it helped me have that like quick change of pace, where then cross country and track helped me stay fit. They helped me have good running form. They helped me learn how to manage the course of a whole game, like cardiovascularly. But more on the sports side, I guess, like tactically, I think those other sports helped me. They expanded my vision of the game, I guess you could say. Like the angles of passing in a basketball game helped me see different angles on a soccer field that I might not have been able to see. They just helped me, I guess, broaden who I was as a soccer player. I didn't just know what we did in training that day or that week or that month. I was bringing in these other skills.
That's great. And you probably wouldn't be the talent or the success that you are had you not played those sports, had you only played soccer.
Definitely.
That's great. So you attended UVA. I'm sure we have some UVA fans in the audience today. And UVA is a heck of a school, not just a soccer playing school, but also an academic school. What attracted you, being, you're from Michigan, UVA is quite a distance away. What brought you to Charlottesville? What attracted you to attend that school?
I think going off of what we were just talking about with being well-rounded and how those other sports helped me be well-rounded, I knew I didn't want to lose being a well-rounded person when I went to college. So I didn't want to I wanted to go to the best academic and the best sports soccer school I could go to that I knew would help me grow as a person overall. And I didn't want to let either of those two fall to the wayside. So I guess that's what drew me to UVA initially. And also I was just excited to explore a new side of the country. I hadn't really been to the East Coast much, and Virginia is a beautiful place. So yeah.
All right. Shout out to Virginia
Yeah.
as a beautiful place. So UVA is a very tough school to get in. You have to have good grades. And as we talked earlier today, congratulations. Zoe was recognized as a 4-year student athlete with the best grade point average, which is quite an impressive feat at a school like UVA. What sort of habits does a successful student athlete have to have, both on and off the field?
I think there's a lot, like the answer to all your questions, but I think the biggest thing is just time management and being able to prepare ahead of time for what you have coming. Like, especially with soccer, you know your practice schedule, you know your game schedule, you know when you might be having to travel for an ECNL weekend or something like that. So what's helped me a lot is just getting my schoolwork and all that done before I have to come anywhere near a soccer field, because I know that when it's soccer time, I want to be fully locked into soccer. I don't want to be worried because I am late on an assignment that I have to do after practice or something like that. I don't want to have to think about any of that. So getting ahead on work, I think, is what helped me be successful in school while playing soccer. And then also just not letting anything slip through the cracks, I guess I would say. So just being super organized about what you have. Like, I keep a planner. I've kept a planner since, I don't know, 7th grade. I was that weird girl with the planner, but it's not weird. It helps you get to where you need to be. And you're going to get everything done that you need to get done.
So just to review, getting your homework done early,
Mm-hmm.
right? Doing all your other schoolwork, including studying.
Yes.
Probably making sure your chores are done at home.
Yes.
Making sure your room is clean.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to mom and dad, right? All those things.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
I see a lot of eyes rolling right now from our audience, but these are all of the things that we need to do to be successful and to have that opportunity to play. So that's wonderful. So you studied global public health with a minor in environmental science. So you must like science and math. Is that true?
Yes, I do.
So when your soccer playing career is over, what do you think you're going to do in that field? What do you want to do?
I'm still trying to figure that out a little bit. I know some grad school is in my future to narrow that down, but I'm super interested in how we as humans are affecting our environment, and then how that's coming back and affecting our health. So I want to help people understand how much nature helps their health, how much the food we eat helps our health, and how we can be in that relationship with the great outdoors, which I think comes a lot from my experience with soccer, because we're outside so often. I love it outside. And then going back to everywhere I've been able to travel, I've gotten to see a lot of cultures, and a lot of cultures that really respect the outdoors and all that. And so, yeah, I think that's what drew me to that.
That's great. So you were recently, back in January, you got drafted by the Chicago Red Stars, which is a great feat. And you were able to join the team for training camp. And then unfortunately, we all encountered this global crisis, and that experience had to stop. And the hope is that with other leagues, our athletes will return to the field when it's safe. But talk to us a little bit about that experience now that you've had an opportunity to train at the professional level in this country. Share with us some of that experience.
I think going back to the switch from rec to premier, and then premier to the bigger club, and then even club to college, this was just another step up where it's a whole new level. Again, increased speed of play. Each player is just so technical. They're so strong. They're so fit. They know what they're good at. They'll use that to their advantage and take advantage of what they find to be your weakness. So it's just an incredible opportunity to learn, even for a week, from these incredible players. So yeah,
Well,
great experience.
I think the hope, the fingers crossed, is that the games will return.
Yes.
And perhaps when the Red Stars are playing the Spirit, when we can all cheer. Well, we'll cheer for the Spirit, but then we'll also cheer for you when you get some touches on the ball. That will be the game plan.
I'd appreciate it.
So thinking about, now that unfortunately that experience got delayed, what are you doing now to stay sharp and to stay fit while at home?
So I'm super lucky to have brothers, like you mentioned. I make them come out and train with me most days. And I'm back at home where, like I said, I would go in my basement before high school and just get touches in every day. So I've been doing a lot of things that I used to do in high school when I lived around here, and I get a couple of good technical sessions in a week. I'm doing a lot of running, fitness, that I know I'm ready to come in physically prepared when we are able to go back. So yeah, just each day doing what I can do to maintain the level I was at and push forward and be even better than the level I was at when I first went there.
Are these workouts that you're doing, that you're creating, or are these workouts that the Red Stars are providing you?
The Red Stars are providing us with physical workouts, so the runs and lifts and stuff like that, but the technical work is all on our own. So I'm doing a lot of stuff like the self-reflection we were talking about earlier. I made a list when I first got home of what I think my weaknesses are, what I think my strengths are, and I've honed in on a couple of things that I really want to work on while I'm home, and I made a couple drills and workouts to do to get better at those.
That's great. So it's a combination. You've got some activities to do, because for the boys and girls who are at home, there are online workouts that we've set up for them and some home workouts that they can do. So it's a combination of not just the things that you're being asked to do by your team or your coaches, but also you're recognizing these are some areas that you want to improve in to make yourself better, and you're putting in the work.
Yep.
That's a great way to do it. So a couple, we're going to have a couple questions that I'm going to pose to you before we wrap up with a final question or two. We got one question asking, what's your favorite move?
My favorite move. So for lack of a better word, I'd call myself a fairly simple player. I like doing the simple things really well.
I think your ODP coach may have told you that once.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And so I would say my favorite move as a center back is probably just some sort of like fake or a little bit of a just jab step to try and throw the forward off so that I can just go the other way, buy myself a little time. So
yeah.
Doing the simple stuff well.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be super fancy, just has to be effective.
Yep.
That's good. Is there a soccer player that you look up to, or someone that you see as a role model that you want to either copy some of the things they do or the way they control or handle themselves?
Yeah, I think it's super important to have a strong role model that you're aspiring to be like. And for me, that's Becky Sauerbrunn. I think she's just incredible. And obviously she went to UVA. So there's that connection. She's a center back. She's just so calm and collected when she's on the ball and loves what she's doing, is a great teammate, is a great captain. And yeah, she's definitely a role model of mine.
Okay. I've got a couple other questions coming. Strongest foot, you were right-footed, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. But you still practice with your left foot?
More than my right.
There you go. And what sort of things motivate you? What motivates you to be the best that you can be?
I would say for me, a couple things. I just love the pursuit of getting better. So I love setting a goal for myself and working and grinding to reach that goal. So it's definitely the journey that motivates me. I like just the day in, day out, putting the work in. And then also I would say my team and the goals that our team sets. So I know that the person next to me is working super hard, and so I want to work hard for her next to me, so that we can reach our goals as a team.
Good. Now we got a couple players on the call who are getting ready to enter high school, and then there are others who are in middle school with aspirations of playing potentially collegiate soccer. So, what advice would you give to the boys and girls watching at home or listening at home in regards to promoting yourself and the college recruiting process?
Yeah, so I think it's changed a little bit since I went through it, just some of the rules and stuff, but not knowing what those rules are, the advice I can give is that I think being super self-reflective and identifying those weaknesses now and identifying your strengths now, so that when you are given the opportunity to play in front of college coaches, college scouts, you're the best you can possibly be. But as far as reaching out to them, I would say, like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. They're looking for players. They want to hear from you. So again, not knowing the rules completely, in my time, it was send that email, call them. It's uncomfortable to call them, but just do it. They're looking for you.
Well, and that assertiveness, right, is a great quality to have. What other qualities do you think coaches are going to look for?
Going through the recruiting process, I would say I heard a lot of coaches talking about coachability and just being like, they're not just looking for your skill on the field. Obviously, that's a big part of it, but they're also looking at how you interact with your coach and the other players on the team. So they'll see if your coach tells you to do something and if you do it or if you don't. They notice those things. They're looking at those little personality traits rather than just what you do when you have the ball. So just being a good player with a relationship with your coach and doing what they tell you to do on the field.
And that's just the kind of, it's a recognition that, you know, the coaches are trying to help us, right? And
yeah.
It's okay to have to disagree at times, but we want to be able to take that advice and that direction a coach gives you and be able to apply it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So a couple other questions, because we're getting to that 30-minute mark and I don't want to keep people too much longer. If you were to think about, you know, we've got a lot of young soccer players, boys and girls, listening today and watching today. What's the advice that you would give them for them to help achieve their goals and become the best soccer player they can be?
I'd say two things. One, like we've talked a lot about, that self-reflection and doing that at certain or different milestones in your playing career, just sitting down and writing down what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how can you work on them, and make a plan. Really set short-term goals and try and meet those in your technical training and your fitness training, just really committing to you as a player. And then with that, I would say, like, working hard is cool. It's like, it might not always seem like it, especially in middle school and high school. People will be like, why are you spending so much time working out? That's, but like, that's what you put in at this period in your life is you're gonna reap those benefits later on. And it can be really fun to put in that hard work right now. And so just own it. That's
great. You got to put in the work and the hard work will pay off.
Yep.
That's great. All right, Zoe, we're about 30 minutes in. I know that there were some other questions and I apologize for not getting to them, but if everyone maybe can give themselves, you know, give Zoe a little round of applause for We can't hear them, but we can. I know we can see you guys. This was wonderful. So I'm really, really happy to see you and be able to pick your brain and share this wisdom with the boys and girls following at home. And boys and girls, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope that we get a chance to watch Zoe play sometime in the very near future. And keep putting in the work at home. Keep putting in the work on your own. And maybe in like 10 or 15 years, I'll be having this conversation with you and the next group of boys and girls coming through Loudon Soccer. All right. So with that, enjoy your night. See you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you.